Good morning, everyone, to the CHED-UniFAST family. But first of all, thank you, Ms. Catherine Atienza, our MC. Thank you, UniFAST, for inviting me to this CHED-wide virtual flag ceremony. To CHED and UniFAST Board Chairperson, the structural visionary educator, Popoy de Vera, CHED Executive Director, Attorney Cinderella Filipina Cindy Benitez Haro, UniFAST OIC Executive Director, my nephew, Attorney Ryan L. Esteves, CHED OIC Executive Director, Attorney Lily Frida Milla, CHED Commissioners, Dr. Aldrin Darilag, whom I always sit with in the Bicol Board of Regents, Dr. Ronald Adamat, Dr. Perfecto Alibing, and Dr. Lilian de las Llagas. To CHED Regional Directors present today, other officials, and staff of CHED and UniFAST, again, good morning to everyone. Thank you for inviting me to your flag ceremony. And it is an honor for me to be present here with you today to start this week and kick off the celebration of the 6th anniversary of Republic Act 10687. This is the law signed by the late President Benigno Aquino III, my classmate in Ateneo under President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, on October 15, 2015. Which created the Unified Student Financial Assistance System for Tertiary Education, or what the public commonly calls UniFAST. Congratulations to your anniversary, UniFAST. Job well done. While the government works to promote social justice and provide funding for its citizens to have access to quality education, RA 10687 was created to unify and harmonize all the existing public-funded national government programs related to giving out scholarship, grants and aids, and student loans for Filipinos, particularly those in the marginalized sector, to pursue and complete their tertiary education. UniFAST is here to do that job for us. This law also created 12-member UniFAST board that is attached to the commission and chaired by a very strong and wise leader, Chairman Popoy de Vera, to carry out those objectives and craft policies to ensure the effective implementation of this act. In May this year, when Chairperson de Vera and his team visited the province of Albay, he led the Gawad Parangal ceremony for our local colleges in the Bicol region. More than 27,000 students enrolled in 18 local colleges in Bicol region now benefit from programs under the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education of 2017 or the Republic Act 10931, particularly the Free Higher Education or FHE, Tertiary Education Subsidy or TES, Tulong Dunong, and the Student Loan Program. These LUCs worked hard on having the institutional recognition and the certificate of program compliance to qualify as beneficiaries of RA 10931. I was a guest speaker there and to share with you the gist of what I've said during the occasion. If we will truly pursue universal access to higher education, we must support community colleges that typically cater to the poorest and most underserved segments of the enrolled population. Community colleges and education in general helped transform Albay and lifted its people out of poverty. When I became governor of Albay, right after the Super Typhoon Rening, we witnessed and experienced how one disaster or super typhoon can ruin infrastructure projects we have built patiently over the years. Albay is a major tourist destination because of our volcano and other natural resources. We have beautiful land and seascapes. We are rich in natural wealth, but you know that we always have the threat of a disaster. In fact, we are called the Vatican of disasters. If the Philippines get an average 20 typhoons per year, and 4 or 5 of them are the most destructive, one of them would most likely hit the Bicol region. So what do we do? If material investments or physical infrastructure, or what we can call physical capital, are always threatened, the best development route for us then is to invest in human capital, in the health and education of our people, while we grow our investment by protecting every single life from disaster with our Albay brand of zero casualty doctrine. We instilled in our people a culture of preparation for disasters, and this made Albay a globally acclaimed model for disaster resilience. And Albay took a leading role in calling for climate action, for we have been exposed to the dangers of climate change. We have a successful healthcare program earning us the prestigious Manuel L. Quezon Achievers Award from the Department of Health by virtually eradicating tuberculosis with 92% immunization, 100% notification, and 97% cure rate. The best, and in fact this award was awarded possibly only once since it began. But I would say that our proudest achievement is in education. When I became governor, Albay improved its national achievement test from a poor 177 in 2007 to 19th by 2012. We have also sharply reduced the school dropout rate to only 0.2% versus the national average of 1.3%. More importantly for today, we finance the education of the largest pool of college scholars outside of the national government through the Albay Higher Education Contribution Scheme, which is patterned after the Australian model for higher education financing. If the theory that human capital investments directly reduce poverty, then I think we have proved it correct. Because from 42% poverty rate in 2007, by 2015, we were able to reduce it to only 14%, even lower than the national average. When people are healthier, more educated, more skilled, and are less vulnerable to disaster, they are able to lift themselves out of poverty. After the creation of UniFAST to RA 10687, RA 10931 followed in 2017. The core of this landmark legislation signed by President Duterte is that investment in human capital, by providing access to quality higher education, would lift families out of poverty and make communities more resilient. Before this law was passed, there were major events on fully funding public higher education, and even President Duterte's entire economic team were against it. The road to passing this law was not easy. As the principal is a sponsor of this measure in the House of Representatives, I debated colleagues about the need to fully fund even community colleges, as others argued that either just state universities and colleges or just technical education should be funded. Of course, with the help of your chairperson, Popoy de Vera, he won the argument right at the center in front of the president, who then signed it. As I've said earlier, community colleges, nowhere does free tuition matter more than in community colleges, where the poor and the working students enroll. We now have 107 LUCs out of the 135 existing LUCs that are providing the benefits of free higher education. Indeed, we give Chairperson De Vera credit for this great accomplishment meant to benefit our disadvantaged students. There will always be a place for Chairman Popoy, a central role in our nation building. There was also the real threat that it would be vetoed by the President because he rarely decided against recommendation of his economic teams. It was through my letter to the President appealing against the veto and the personal intervention of then Commissioner Popoy de Vera that saved the law. We now have more than 1.6 million college students in public higher education institutions enjoying free tuition and being exempted from paying 13 other school fees because of these efforts. The new community colleges after UIQT became law, all their existing in large part to this reform. The number of beneficiaries of tertiary education subsidy program in our public and private case has now reached more than 435,000 from only 288,000 in the first year of its implementation in academic year 2018-2019. Let us add to that number almost 300,000 tulong-dunong grantees, 239,555 validated to date, and there's still ongoing validation for the semester of 2020 to 2021. Given the pandemic and its impact on employment, livelihood, as well as incomes. Without the UIQTE, without UniFAST, one could only imagine that there will be no safety net, because without this law, which provided and enabled college students to continue, and while they remain, of course, challenged, their families are challenged by the big economic impacts of the pandemic on their families. This is the year that we celebrated the accomplishment of UIQTE, along with the celebration of the first ever National Higher Education Day and the 27th anniversary of CHED. Our accomplishments are significant on what we have done for free college education in our country, but we still have so much to do, especially in the face of the economic scars, the so-called economic scarring being continuous, that would be impacting our economy by some estimates of almost 11 trillion on education, and therefore I think CHED has a lot to do on its hands. Yes, we have increased the growth rate in the number of our graduates every year after the law took effect. Yes, students are now most likely to graduate because of UIQTE. We know the difference and impact of having a college diploma on a person. In order to find decent employment, most employers would always look for a college degree, but the jobs of the future demand no diplomas. Thus, we need to rethink the system, and I truly believe in it, that the next set of structural reforms will have to do both on education as well as our healthcare system, which of course expose the weakness in our healthcare system. One of the objectives in the UniFAST law is to produce a pool of highly qualified graduates and technical experts who will contribute to the country's high-level labor force through our scholarships and educational subsidy programs. We do not want to produce graduates with no skills to compete in today's globalized economy. The 21st century, the fourth industrial revolution, is now being driven by people with proper skills to get the job done without the necessity of a diploma. And so, we need to produce the right workers to fill the need of the new industries. As an economist and as a policymaker, and always ending up as a presidential advisor, we need to make policies for the young Filipinos to be properly skilled and properly educated, or we will just keep producing graduates who lack usable skills in the future, and therefore no incomes, and therefore we are not able to make a big dent in our poverty. Let us not forget that under the UIQTE, we also have free technical vocational education and training implemented by TESDA in state-run tech institutions. However, the law makes technical and vocational education and formal tertiary education an either-or proposition. You can no longer get a TESDA certificate above NC3 if you already have a college degree. I believe that we have some college courses both in public and private HAYS that should be taught and certified by TESDA. This is an area that CHED and TESDA can work on so we can focus more on skills education. The Meister School that would push for the creation of specialized schools to close our country's skills gap is one of the bills I proposed and which was approved already in the House. And I proposed under the Certified Comprehensive Education Reform Agenda in Congress. We also filed a proposal to improve the K-12 system, the Teacher Empowerment Act, that would reload the schedules of our overworked teachers. In fact, while working with CHED inside the Board of Regents of EU, I have seen great effort by CHED to offload a lot of what you might call unnecessary or not necessarily frivolous, but rather to focus the education the entire time, much of the students' time, to the more critical studies. When the organization of Economic Cooperation and Development released the results of the 2018 Program for International Student Assessment conducted in 79 countries. We scored last in reading comprehension and placed second lowest in both mathematics and science. If the PISA results indicate that Philippine schools are producing low performers in reading, among our 15-year-old high school students, we would naturally be generating college graduates with low abilities as well. In short, input, process, output. And therefore, it will put too much stress on the process. And that process, the input are our graduates from K-12. Our output should be employable graduates. So the process then puts heavy burden, especially on the HAYS or the post-secondary education. This is a wake-up call for all of us, not just in the education sector, but for every Filipino citizen who wants to get themselves out of the cycle, what I call the intergenerational cycle of poverty. In general, 85% of those whose mother did not finish college, did not finish high school, is most likely not to finish high school. So if you want to break this intergenerational cycle of poverty through education, that's why the so-called 4Ps was injected in order is precisely to unbind, unlock, so that you don't need 85% of mothers who did not finish high school to get rich before their children, and by that time, they will produce more poor people because they did not finish at least high school. We have to make drastic changes and address our literacy programs right now. To the people of CHED-UniFAST, thank you for your hard work and dedication. Let us use the powers, the potential of your agencies, both UniFAST and CHED, and capable personnel so we can work together towards national economic development. Thank you again very much for this award. To Chairman Popoy, you call me the father of free higher education, but I think it properly belongs to you. Thank you very much, Chair Popoy. And I hope that the country will produce more of you, including, of course, the trust that you have entrusted, the trust that you have given to my nephew, Ryan Esteves, because he will certainly prove the brand of our family. But that's, I can assure you that he's very hardworking, even when he was in Congress. He would run from room to room just to get a law passed. So again, thank you very much for giving me this chance. I love CHED, I love UniFAST. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas.